Okay, so this is a lesson where we start to learn some parts of algebraic expressions. You'll notice that there's no equal sign there because we're not really solving anything in this. We're just going to be identifying pieces and parts. We'll look at what we have to identify here up above. It says to identify terms, coefficients, and constants in each expression. So what I'll have you do when you're doing your homework is you'll put terms, and then you'll list them. You'll put your coefficients, and I typically do COE for coefficients, and constants I do CON. To talk about what those mean, you might write this down as I'm kind of recording this here, but first of all, a term, the first thing, a term is any expression that is split up by a subtraction or addition sign. That's a term. So looking at this expression up above, 5x is a term. 5x is one term. Another term in this is 13. Those are both terms. We just keep the sign with it. So if the 13 said minus 13, that 13 would be negative. But since it's positive, we'll just leave it positive. Coefficients are numbers that go with variables. So in this instance, the coefficient would be 5. Constants, the best way I can explain those is no matter what you plug in for a value of x, the value remains the same. So for my coefficients, when I plug in a different number for x, that 5x term could change. The constant term will never change. So 13 would be the term that would never change regardless of what x's value is. Looking at the next one, again, just listing out things. The terms are 2z squared y and 3. Those are all my terms. My coefficients are anything, again, that's with a variable. So my coefficients are 2 because it's 2z squared and 1 because it's 1y. Constants, again, the only thing that won't change based on the variables changing would be that 3 there. So that's all we have to do is label those pieces. We are going to go ahead and pause and try these just like I did up above. By the time I unpause, I'd like you to go ahead and have those answered. So again, ask questions if you have them. If not, go ahead and unpause and move on. Okay, so for the first one, we have the terms are 12 and 10c. The second one, or for the first one's coefficients, it's 10 because that's a number that's with the variable. The constant is 12. That's the one that does not change. Number 2, your terms are 15, 3w, and 1/2. The coefficient is the 3. The constants are 1/2 and 15. Number 3, your terms are z squared and 9z. Your coefficients are 1 and 9, and you do not have any constant terms without a variable. Again, make sure you ask questions if you have them. Example 2, writing algebraic expressions using exponents. Again, this is basically just representing as repeated multiplication. You'll notice a up here is d times d times d times d times d. So there's 4 of them. So what we do is we keep the base the same. We would say d to the 4th power. That's all we have to do. Letter B, it says right here 1.5 h times h times h. We're going to leave 1.5 the same. We leave 1.5 alone unless there's more numbers, and then we would multiply them. But since 1.5 is the only number, we're just going to have 1.5 times h to the 3rd. Again, we're going to go ahead and go to the... What I'd like you guys to do is write these as exponents. And if you have any questions afterwards, go ahead and ask. Okay, so j to the 6th is what you should get for number 4. Number 5 would be 9k to the 5th. Example 3, evaluating expressions. So what we have are some problems where we are given a value after we already know what the expression is. So for A, we know our given expression is k plus 10. Then they tell us that k is equal to 25. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this value, 25, and we're going to plug it in for k. So what we can say is 25 plus 10, and we get 35. That's our final answer. Letter B is very similar. We are given the expression 4 times n, and we are given the fact that n is equal to 12, and we want to find out what the expression equals when we let n equal 12. So we're going to say 4 times that value that we plug in is 12, and we get our solution. 4 times 12 is 48. So again, it's taking values and plugging them in. Go ahead and pause and try 6 and 7. I'll go ahead and talk through these as well. So number 6, we have 24 plus c when we know that c is equal to 9. Again, we have 24 plus, we plug in the value 9 for c. We can find our solution. 24 plus 9 is 33. Number 7, we have d minus 17 when we know d is equal to 30. We plug in our value 30 for d, so we have 30 minus 17, and we find our solution as 13. Again, if you didn't get your answers, make sure you ask questions and figure out what you did wrong. We are also going to be given some expressions where all we have given is variables. Example 4 is a good example of that. So we have a divided by b, and it says up above a is equal to 16 and b is equal to 2/3. So really what this says is 16 divided by 2 over 3. Now we have to keep in mind all that stuff that we just learned last chapter. So now what we need to do is, instead of divide by fractions, multiply by the reciprocal. We change 16 so that it looks like a fraction also, and then we can just cross cancel. So when I cross cancel, I can take out the 16 and the 2. That 2 now becomes a 1, the 16 is now an 8, and I can just multiply straight across. On top I have 8 times 3, I get 24. On bottom I just get 1, so my answer is 24. Now for numbers A and B here on 5, I'll go ahead and work these out. They're very similar, and then you'll have an opportunity to try some on your own. So again, we have 3x minus 14, and we know x is equal to 5. So we're going to say 3 times 5 minus 14. We have to follow order of operations, so what we need to do first is multiply the 3 and the 5, and we get 15 minus 14, and we get our value to be 1. On b, we have z squared, so again it's z squared plus 8.5 when z is equal to 2. So what I'll say is 2 squared plus 8.5. I get 2 squared is 4. I have to do powers first, then I add 8.5, and I get 12.5. So now we're going to look at these again. If you need to rewind, go ahead and do so you can see those, but pause right now, try these examples on your own, ask questions if you have any. So all of these, what we're doing is we're going to plug in the value 6 for y. So first one, we have 5 times 6 plus 1, and we go ahead and solve that. 5 times 6, we get 30, plus 1 is 31. Number 13, we have 30 minus 24 divided by 6. Again, order of operations says that we have to divide 24 by 6. So we have 30 minus 24 divided by 6 is 4. 30 minus 4 is 26. Number 14, we have 6 squared minus 7, which 6 squared is 36, minus 7, we get 29. 15, we have 1.5 plus 6 squared. 6 squared again is what we have to evaluate first. We have 1.5 plus 36. We add those up and we have 37.5. So again, remember to ask questions and make sure you got all those answers correct after you plugged in that value for y There's your four solutions. I want to talk about, you guys. If you are given a story problem, you just need to pay attention to what you're given. All of your information that you need will be there. So how much will you have after 4 weeks, 10 weeks, and 20 weeks? All you're going to do is plug in 4, 10, and 20 and find the total numbers that you would get. If you get one like this in your homework, you'll have an expression given and you'll plug in values just like is shown on this example. So go ahead and take a look at this. Pause it if you need to kind of follow the process, but the story problems in this lesson will be pretty basic.